After Terence Bud Crawford's dominant performance against Errol Spence Jr., I mean, historical night of boxing, outstanding performance of a fight with such high stakes, right? Usually we don't see guys perform on such a high level on such an event. I mean, outstanding from Terence Bud Crawford. But Bud Mania continues, and he's, of course, got to do his media rounds and give his afterthoughts after the fight, what's next, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Terence Crawford gets asked about who's next.
The block is Boots.
Right. Now that can happen because we have the same weight class, but, at this point in time, I'm looking for bigger and better opportunities like Charlo.
So yeah, you and Charlo was getting chippy. He was ringside. What words did you guys say to each other?
Man, I just, gave me a little peace of mind, We've been going back for some time, and I just thought I was in the moment. I just thought to let him know that, I'm coming for him too. I don't know. Charlo holds all the belts at 154. I hold all the belts at 147. Me and Errol Spence was the two top welterweights in the division. That was the biggest fight of, this decade. That was a fight that's been marinating for 5 years. I don't see nobody else on that level of Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, besides Canelo, and he fights at 168 plus. So I don't see me and him fighting. So
what's the highest you could fight at realistically?
I would say 154 realistically.
154. So
them boys get big up there. And I'm not a person to, toot my own horn too loud to be able to say, oh, well, I can beat the world. I understand there's weight classes for a reason, and I respect the weight classes.
And after hearing who's next, he seems to be focused on Jermell Charlo more than anything, right? He seems to be focused on Jermell Charlo. Boots Ennis, it's not necessarily a fight he's really interested in right now. Boots Ennis isn't really bringing anything to the table. However, me personally, as a fight fan, I want to see that fight, right? But I think Jaron Boots Ennis got to have a little bit more to offer to entice or to gull Terence Crawford into a fight. Right now, if the IBF mandates it, then Terence Crawford will have to face his mandatory. But as of right now, Crawford is on to bigger and better things, and that bigger and better thing is Jermell Charlo. And as we know, Jermell Charlo has, or will be, stripped of his WBO title. However, with Crawford being the undisputed welterweight champion and beating the hell out of his homeboy Errol Spence Jr. and then calling him out in the process while he was beating up on Errol Spence, I think that Jermell Charlo should double back after his fight with Canelo Alvarez. I think Jermell Charlo should double back and see Terence Bud Crawford to settle this score. Terence Bud Crawford said he don't care for Jermell Charlo. It's not that he don't like him, he just don't care for the guy. And amongst other things in this particular interview, he got asked about his weight and things like that, what he's walking around at, and he was very transparent about what he walking around at. And he also got mentioned about fighting Tank Davis, and Tank Davis would be too small, and we all know Tank Davis would be too small. Tank Davis has been a guy that's been really critical of Terence Crawford over the years. Tank Davis has been a guy who never seem to believe in Terence Bud Crawford, right? But now I think at this point, even Tank Davis, one of Crawford's biggest critics, gotta believe. But moving forward,
call for all the champions. I call for all the top guys, and Keith Thurman was one of the guys that didn't want to shed any light on my name. He was just basically like, oh, this guy, he's not even a 147 pounder. He's a little guy. He didn't want to give me my props for moving up and actually not taking a tune-up, going right into the champion, beating the man that beat the man. Pacquiao was considered the man in the division, and Jeff Horn beat Pacquiao, and I beat Pacquiao, and they basically try to blackball me. They start saying that the WBO wasn't considered a world championship. They wouldn't say my name on a broadcast. They was basically trying to outlaw me and basically just have the fans forget about it. So if you look on the Showtime fights and stuff like that, they wouldn't consider me as a champion. They would only consider, Errol, Keith Thurman, and I think it was Danny Garcia at the time, or it was Danny Garcia. And so I felt like that was very disrespectful.
What's next for Bud? Who do you want to see Terence Crawford fight? It's not too many big names, big guys out there. Errol Spence was one of the best fights to be made in boxing. They got number 6, I believe, is number 6 and gate for Las Vegas of all time. So that's really good. They number 6 out of all the other big fights. Spence and Crawford did their thing and making this big fight. And not to mention these guys ain't on a microphone talking shit and doing anything crazy. It just worked. But no, I'll change that part out. But yeah, really successful event from Spence and Crawford. But moving forward, Crawford is now perceived or looked at as the number 1 guy in the sport of boxing. I mean, Terence Crawford's stock has risen straight through the roof. The only options I see for Bud Crawford at this particular point is possibly Keith Thurman, who he did mention, of course, right? We heard him mention Keith Thurman and how Keith Thurman's didn't want to shine any light on him. And Jaron Boots is a guy here he's not too interested in, just simply because Boots doesn't bring anything really to the table. I mean, he just had his first main event, and it looked like he was in a high school basketball gym. And then there's, of course, Jermell Charlo, the undisputed 154-pound champion, a guy that Terence Crawford really, really, really seems to want to fight more than anybody that I ever seen. But yeah, you guys, that's the video. Go check out the full interview on Hot 97. And yeah, man, salute to Terence Bud Crawford, the number 1 pound-for-pound boxer in the world. Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.